Good Wednesday morning, 6th grade. We are going to get started off today. Instead of having a devotion, I'm giving you an opportunity to win a prize. And you have to get out a clean sheet of notebook paper and number 1 through 20. If you want to do this, you do not have to. It is not for a grade. It is just for a prize. So these are questions from the Bible trivia questions. You probably know them. They are Sunday school questions from when you were little. So I'm going to read them kind of quickly just to save time. So if you need to listen to the questions again, you're welcome to rewind me and go back again and listen. Again, 1 through 20. Also, if you want to look these up in your Bible, that's fine with me as well. Number 1, how many books are in the Bible? This includes Old and New Testament. Number 2, what was the name of the shepherd boy who became the second king in Israel? Number 3, how many brothers did Joseph have? Number 4, who were the parents of Cain and Abel? Number 5, Noah sent out 2 different kinds of birds from the ark. What were they? You'll have to give me both of those birds on that same line for number 5. Number 6, after the flood, what sign did God give that he would not destroy the earth with a flood again? Easy one. Number 7, who did Boaz marry? Number 8, Abraham traveled with his nephew. Excuse me. What was his nephew's name? Number 9, you might have to look this one up. I don't know. Number 9, what was the name of Joseph's baby brother? What was the name of Joseph's baby brother? Number 10, who found baby Moses in the river? Number 11, what was the name of the mountain where Moses was given the 10 commandments? Number 12, when Lot's wife turned around and looked at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, what did she turn into? Number 13, what were Gideon's weapons when he fought the Midianites? What were Gideon's weapons when he fought the Midianites? Just so you know, there's 3 different weapons. Number 14, what did King Solomon ask God to give him? What did King Solomon ask God to give him? Number 15, what river was Jesus baptized in? These are getting a little trickier. What river was Jesus baptized in? Number 16, what was the first miracle of Jesus recorded in the Bible? 17, what kind of work did Zacchaeus do? 18, oops, lost my question. When Jesus was on the Mount of Transfiguration, who were the Old Testament men who appeared with him? Jesus was on the mountain and 2 men from the past, from the Old Testament, appeared before him. What 2 men were they? Who was in prison with Paul in Philippi when they were singing and there was an earthquake? And my question 20 did not show up. Let me see if I can find that real quick. I'm so sorry. My iPad is slow today. I'll just give you a question. What disciple of Jesus was the one that betrayed him? Which disciple of Jesus was the one that betrayed him? So, fill in those 20 answers, return it to me on Friday, and I will send you a prize back the following week if you are correct. Again, this is not an assignment. You do not have to do it, just something to earn a prize. And let's go ahead and bow our heads before we begin this Wednesday of our lessons. Pray with me. Lord, I love you today. I thank you, Jesus, for the great big God that you are. I thank you that we can bring our little problems to you. I thank you that we can bring our big problems to you because, Lord, you are able to take care of both of them. Lord, I pray that you will touch each and every one of my students today. Lord, I ask that you will touch Dylan today and Owen. Lord, I pray that you will touch Lavinia and Matthew and Callaway, Lord, and Carly and Addison and Brianna. I ask that you will be with each and every one of my students. Lord, I ask that your hand of protection be upon them and their families. Help us through this last few weeks of distance learning to continue to stay focused, to continue to do our very best in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. And we are moving first of all into math on this Wednesday. So I will see you over in math class. Sixth grade on your syllabus today, it says that you need to do speed drill lesson 108. You also had to do speed drill lesson 106 on Monday, and I forgot to go over that with you. So I just want to take a look at both of those to see if I need to help you on either one of those. Give me just a second. Here we go. Find my marker. On Mondays, if you haven't finished that yet, let's take a look at that. Or if you finished it and you weren't sure of your answers, here's a good time to fix them. Let me do the first one with you. 0.325. Everybody see that? And I'm rounding that to my 10th and my 100th place. 100th. Let's make sure you remember that. 10th and my 100th place. Now my decimal point is before the 3, so I'm going to put my arrow at my 10th place and underline my 100th place. Now, according to the digit that is underlined, what am I going to do to my 3? Am I going to keep it the same or bump it up? Remember, I keep it the same if my determining digit is 1, 2, 3, or 4. I bump it up if my determining digit is 5 or more. So I am going to keep this 3 the same for my 10th place. And when we are rounding with decimals, everything drops except for the place that we're rounding to. So my answer is just 0.3 for the 10th place. Now let's go to the 100th place. 0.325. I'm going to put an arrow over my 100th place because that's what I'm rounding to. I'm going to underline my determining digit. So because of it's a number 5, am I going to keep it the same or bump it up? I heard all of you say bump up my place of the 100. So I'm going to bump up my 2 to a 3. Everything before the arrow stays the same. 0.3. Bumping up my 100th place to 3 and dropping everything after my arrow. So to my 100th place, that will be rounded up to 0.33. So if you haven't finished that chart, go ahead and do it. If you struggled on that and you need to fix some of those, go ahead and fix that. Also on lesson 108, which you are to do today, most all of these are self-explanatory. There's a lot of multiplication on that. So take your time on that. Go ahead and try to do your best. You also have a worksheet to do today, which is worksheet 105. Hope I have that with me. I do. So you are not learning a new lesson at all today. Worksheet 105. Let's go through that a little bit. A through H is just following your directions. Going to be subtracting on A. Make sure your decimal point is in your answer. B, multiplying. Again, C, you have a decimal point. On D, we're doing 2 steps. We're changing our percent to a decimal, changing our of sign to a multiplication sign, or our of to a multiplication sign. E, you're dividing. On F, let me give you a little bit of a hint here. It's 1 1/2%. First, we change it to a decimal, which would be 1.1/2 equals 0.5. 1.5%. Now we change it to, now we get rid of our percent sign and change it to just a decimal. Get rid of that, move that over 2 times, fill our dip in with a 0. So now we're changing our of sign to a multiplication and multiplying 1,1250 times 0.015 to find that answer. And G, be careful with G, your answer is not 18. You're going to multiply 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. One more, and I think I'm going out of my camera range. Times 3. On H, you need to change, before you keep change flip, you need to change 2 2/5 to an improper fraction. On 3 at the bottom, you're finding your radius and your diameter. So your formula will start with C equals. On B, you can change your fraction to a decimal, or I would suggest changing it to a decimal. The book is showing keeping your pi instead of your decimal, changing your pi to 3 1/7 times 3 3/4. You can do that as well if you would like to do that. I haven't really taught that to you too much. I would change it to a decimal if I were you. On the next page, 106, you're finding your area. So all of your formulas will start with A equals, not P, not C, but A equals. Number 5, you are just measuring all of these angles. Number 6, you are making 2 circles with your compass. Circle A should be relatively easy because your radius is 2 centimeters. Your diameter on B is 2 inches, but you'll need to open your compass to your radius on that. So don't forget to change your diameter to your radius. All right, good luck on that worksheet. And that is all that you have for math today. So get that finished, get it put right in your folder to deliver to me on Friday. Make sure your name is at the top, and we will be moving right into language. Okay, we're opening up in language to page 207. I said a few minutes ago, this is another important language lesson for you to really be paying attention to. We're still continuing to talk about adjectives, of course. Today we're going to talk about 3 different forms of adjectives. They can show how one person or one thing compares to another. The 3 forms are called positive, comparative, and superlative. Three forms of adjectives when comparing. And on page 207, you see some very muscly strong men here. First one says, Bruno is strong. Magilla is stronger than Bruno. So there's our comparison. Igor is the strongest weightlifter of all time. So we have 3 forms: strong, stronger, and strongest. Adjectives have 3 degrees of comparison: positive, comparative, superlative. In the positive degree, there's nothing that's being compared. There's no ending added. The man is tall. The hurricane was frightful. Maya is dependable. It's just your word. Nothing's being compared. You're just using an adjective to describe something. Now, in the comparative degree, you're going to use that when 2 people or 2 things are being compared. Everybody say 2. 2. Let me hear it again. 2. 2. I'm in the very middle there of the blue box. Please let your eyes follow along in the reading. Most one-syllable adjectives form the comparative degree by adding ER to the positive. Most adjectives of 2 syllables form the comparative degree by using the word more. Again, there's an R in more, and you add ER to 1 syllable words. That's kind of how I remember that. They're both comparative. All adjectives of 3 or more syllables form the comparative degree by using the word more. That all sounds kind of tricky. Let me just read it aloud because it's not. The first one, the man is taller than my father. How many things are we comparing here? 2. We're comparing man and father. So we have a 1 syllable word of tall. So what are we going to add? Our ER, taller. The man is taller than my father. Now listen to it in the positive form. That man is tall than my father. Does that make sense? No, and you know that. So don't make this more difficult. Let's put it in the superlative form. That man is tallest than my father. Does that sound correct? No, it doesn't. So this is not as hard as you're thinking it is because you can actually hear the correct form. Let's go down to the superlative degree. It is used when 3 or more things are compared. This could be 3 things, or this could be 40 things. This could be 3 things, or this could be 1,000,000 things. It doesn't matter how big the number, as long as it's 3 or more. Most 1-syllable adjectives form the superlative degree by adding EST. Just like up in the top, Igor is the strongest weightlifter of all time. How many weightlifters have been throughout time? We don't know, but we do know it's more than 3, right? So we're definitely going to use EST there. Most adjectives of 2 syllables form the superlative degree by using the word most. Now, what letter did we look for with comparative? We used ER or the word more. Oops. Now with superlative, we're using EST or the word most. Both of them have a letter in common. S in EST and most, R in ER or more. So that's one easy trick to remember that. All adjectives of 3 or more syllables form the superlative degree by using the word most. There's our S again. Let's look at these examples. The man is the tallest in the room. Now, we don't know how many men are in the room, but we're assuming there's 3 or more. So we're using our EST. That hurricane was the most frightful that we have ever seen. So evidently whoever's speaking has seen more than 3 hurricanes because they added MOST before the word. Maya is the most dependable friend I have. Now, do you think Maya only has 2 friends? No, she has 3, or whoever's saying this statement, she has 3 or more friends. So we're going to add most there. And I wish you were with me so you could ask questions on this because this is so brand new, and I wish we were all together. Let's go on over to page 208 because this is a fast lesson for something brand new without me seeing your faces to see if you're understanding it. And that's where distance learning is frustrating for your teacher. I want to be with you. Think A. Cross out the incorrect adjective form in parentheses. And yes, you need to put this on notebook paper. Go ahead and get out a clean piece. Put your name up in the right-hand corner. And on it, you can put pages 208 and 209 because we're going to be doing notebook paper on both of these. All right, let's look at Think A. Cross out the incorrect adjective in parentheses. Here's what you're going to do. I'm going to do the first one with you, and you are going to give me the correct answer on your notebook paper. All you have to do is put the answer. You don't have to write the sentence or anything else. Number 1, of the 9 team members, Dylan, you're a team member. Of the 9 team members, Dylan is the faster or fastest runner. Now, let's ask ourselves. We're not talking about one thing. No, we're not talking about 2 things to compare it. How many are we talking about? It tells us we're talking about 9. So we want to use our superlative form. So what is our superlative form? We add either est or most. So we're going to choose fastest. So on your line, you should write number 1, fastest. That's all you have to do to answer. Number 2 through 5, I want you to do those on your own. If you get stuck, flip back to the blue box on page 207 and reread it. Also, read it aloud to yourself. A lot of times you can hear the correct answer. Think B. We are going to do that as well. Learn the following spelling rules for adjectives. Number 1, if an adjective ends in Y, change the Y to I before adding ER or EST. I think we all know this, but this is very good review for us. It's something we've not really touched on in 6th grade. So let's go over that a little bit. So we are changing shaggy to, we are dropping our Y. And if we're changing it to comparative, we're changing the Y to I and adding ER. Easy peasy. If we're changing it to superlative, I'm going to go down here just so you can keep seeing. We are changing our shaggy, our Y to I, and adding what for superlative? EST. How easy is that? So on your paper, I want you to do the next one. I want you to have number, what is this? This is think B. On your paper, you can put think B. Number 1 we did, but you can do the second. Number 1, the word is huffy. To change it to comparative, you're going to drop that Y and add ER. So write that there. On the next part, to change it to superlative, you're going to drop that Y, add an I, and add EST for huffiest. Hope everybody understands how I want that on their paper. Number 2, if the adjective ends with a shortened vowel sound before the final consonant, ooh, good spelling words. You know I love me some spelling, or good spelling rules. So this excites me. Let's start again. If the adjective ends with a shortened vowel sound before the final consonant, then double the final consonant before adding your ending of ER or EST. So for dimmer, I'm going to do this with you, or for dim, we're going to double our consonant. So this is number 2. You don't have to put this one on paper because I'm doing it with you. Dim, it said to double my consonant, which is M, and add ER. Of the 2 lamps, the left one is dimmer. That's a terrible sentence, but that's kind of how that would be used. And if we're going to change this to superlative and compare 3 or more lamps, we would double our consonant and add EST. Easy peasy. So you're going to do that same thing to glib. Double your consonant, add ER for comparative. Double your consonant, add EST for superlative. Now, let's go on down to 3. So you need to have 2 glib on your paper. Number 3, if an adjective ends in E, drop the final E before adding your ER or EST. Again, loving these spelling rules. So I'll do the first one with you. You do the second one for me on paper. Humble. Ooh, I like that word. Humble. So it told us to drop our final E and then add our ending. So if I'm doing comparative, I'm dropping my E and I'm adding ER. For superlative, I'm dropping my E and I'm adding my EST. Not so bad. So the word that you have to do is fine. Changing that to finer and finest. Make sure you spell them correctly. Finest. That's not really how I say that word, but. All right. Moving on to page 209. I'm loving this lesson today. I love new grammar stuff. I love grammar and language rules, and I wish we were together. I'm going to quit saying that. Page 209. Let's look up at your box at the top. The comparative and superlative degrees of a few adjectives are formed irregularly. So some of them don't follow our rules that I just taught you. We don't like it when they don't follow the rules, do we? The word good, you know and I know that we're not going to change it to gooder or goodest, right? I think strawberry pie is gooder than spinach. No, that doesn't work. So we have irregular ones. That means they don't fit our rules. So I'm going to read a couple of these. Read them across because I think you can hear it when you say it. Good, better, best. The pie is good. The strawberry pie is better than the chocolate pie. The cheesecake is the best pie of all. So sometimes if you put those in your comparing sentences, it will help you as well. And I know you've all heard the poem. I memorized it in 8th grade. Actually, my 8th grade teacher, her name was Mrs. Bargaman, and she was a huge quoter of this quote. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. A good poem to remember. Well, better, and best. Bad, worse, and worst. Ill, worse, and worst. Many, more, and most. Let's use that as an example. Of course, we wouldn't say, I have manier purses than my husband who has no purses. No, we would say I have more purses than my husband. Maybe we should change that from purses to shoes. I have manier shoes than my husband. That is incorrect. You can hear that. I have more shoes than my husband. However, Isabella has the most shoes of anyone in our home. So, of course, you know that I live with more than 3 people. So I'm changing most to a different word. And here it's going to be many, more, most. Much, more, most. Little, meaning an amount of something. Less or least. Far, farther, farthest. Some people struggle a little bit with that one. Far, further, furthest. And several, more, and most. And unfortunately, they don't fit the rules. You just kind of have to know them. Let's go down to look closely. Farther and farthest are used in sentences where they refer to physical distance. Refers to miles, how much you're going to travel on your bicycle, anything referring to distance. Here's an example. San Diego is farther from my home than I thought. Is that distance? Yes, it is. Now, look closely at this. Further and furthest are used in all other sentences where they do not refer to physical distance. Do we need further discussion before we vote? We would not say, do we need farther discussion before we vote, would we? No, we can hear that that doesn't make sense. Here's another one that's a little tricky. Well is an adjective when it refers to one's health, and we reviewed that many times at the beginning of the year. It often follows a linking verb. I am well, thank you. We will soon be studying how these words can be another part of speech also. So those rules, those language rules, those grammar rules, they just keep on a-coming. Moving down to Think See. I do want you to do this on notebook paper. You can do it right under all the other things we've done today. Just put Think See. Number 1, I'm going to do with you, and you can do 2 through 6 on your paper. Number 1, Jermaine is the good speller in our class. Now, we know that's not correct. If it would help you to go up to the box. Now, would we want to use better? Jermaine is the better speller in our class? I don't think so, because when you have a class, it's usually more than 2 people, right? It's usually 3 or more. So I think we need to say Jermaine is the best speller in our class. So I hope you see how that works. Go ahead and do 2 through 6 on your own. Text me your answers to what you think is in my surprise adjective bag, and I will ship that out to my winner on Friday. And next we will be going into, next we're going into reading and health together. I will see you there. All right, yesterday we talked on Tuesday about reasons to call 911, how important it is to call 911, about people choking. Very, very, very great first aid tips. Today I want you to read on your own 46 through 48, and you can stop at a burning pain on 48 because I want to read that with you tomorrow. So stop there. And you don't have any other extra book work to do in health today, just your reading, so stay caught up on that. If you have any highlights, I will give those to you tomorrow as well. Let's go on over to, once you finish doing your reading, you can, in health, we're going to go to reading in reading. So let's go on over to Of America. Once you finish that, you can pause me and get caught up on that. And Of America, you have a read and think sheet to do today, 35. Again, do your best to get those correct answers. Flip over, look for the answers. They're right there. It can't be any easier. And we are opening up to page 97. Yesterday, you read pages 92 through 96. I hope you are enjoying this story of Wolf, the faithful collie. I think it's a good story. I like dog stories. I'm not a huge dog fan. We had a little doggy once, and she had a very horrific accident, and she was, I don't really like to talk about it because it was a very hard, difficult day, but I'll talk to you about it. Her name was Maggie, and we had her when the boys, Landry was probably 4 or 5-ish. When we got Maggie, but we had 2 pit bulls get into our yard and they killed her. So we have not gotten another dog since then because that was rather heartbreaking. And my boys really want one, and Isabella really wants one. I don't know, I might surprise them someday with one, but it's just been hard to replace her after going through that. But I really do love dog stories. My mom has a little dog that is just sweet, and she thinks she's the boss of my mom and dad's house, but she's as cute as can be. My sister has a dog that's absolutely beautiful. My mom's dog's name is Lily, and my sister's dog's name is Lucy, and they are both pretty little dogs. But I do love dog stories. So we're going to open up to page 90. I already said it once, 97. Right at the top of 97, follow along with me as I read. Down the drive to the house he dashed. The maids had taken advantage of their employer's day in New York to walk across the lake to the village. Wise men claim that dogs have not the power to think or to reason things out. So perhaps, although I don't know if I agree with that, honestly. I've seen some pretty smart dogs in my time. So perhaps it was mere chance that Next sent, I'm going to start on that again. So perhaps it was mere chance that Next sent Wolf's flying feet across the lake to the village. Perhaps it was chance and not the knowledge that where there is a village, there are people. Again and again in the car, he had sat upon the front seat alongside the mistress when she drove to the station to meet guests. There were always people at the station, and to the station Wolf now raced. The usual group of platform idlers had been driven home by the cold. A baggage man was hauling a trunk and some boxes out of the express room on the platform to be put aboard the 5 o'clock train from New York. As the baggage man passed under the clump of station lights, he came to a sudden halt, for out of the darkness dashed a dog. Full tilt, the animal rushed up to him and seized him by the skirt of the overcoat. That means he didn't have on a skirt, so don't get the giggles, everybody. He had on a long coat to keep him warm, and so he was pulling on the bottom of his coat. I know how you guys think. The man cried out in scared surprise. He dropped the box he was carrying and struck at the dog to ward off his attack. He recognized Wolf, and he knew the collie's reputation. But Wolf was not attacking. Holding tight to the coat skirt, he backed away, trying to draw the man with him, and all the time whimpering aloud like a nervous puppy. A kick from the man's heavy shod boot broke the dog's hold on the coat, even as a second yell from the man brought 4 or 5 other people running out from the station waiting room. One of these, the telegraph operator, took in the scene at a single glance. With great presence of mind, he bawled loudly, "Mad dog!" Next page. This happened just as Wolf, reeling from the kick, sought to gain another grip on the coat skirt. A second kick, poor Wolf, sent him rolling over and over on the tracks, while the other voices took up the panic cry of "Mad dog! Mad dog!" Now, a mad dog is supposed to be a dog afflicted by rabies. Once in 10,000 times at the very most, a mad dog hue and cry is justified. Certainly not oftener. Ooh, I don't know if that oftener would fit in our language rules that we just learned today. A harmless and friendly dog loses his master on the street. He runs about, confused and frightened, looking for the owner that he's lost. A boy throws a stone at him. Other boys chase him. His tongue hangs out and his eyes glaze with terror. Then some fool bellows, "Mad dog." So it's often not the dog's fault, is what they're trying to say. And the cruel chase is on. The chase that ends in the pitiful victim's death. Yet in every crowd there is a voice ready to raise that cruel shout. So it was with the men who saw Wolf's frenzied effort to take aid to the endangered boy. Voice after voice repeated the cry. Men groped along the platform edge for stones to throw, and the village policeman ran upon the scene drawing his revolver. Finding it useless to make a further attempt to drag the baggage man to the rescue, Wolf leaped back, facing the ever larger crowd. Back went his head again in a hideous wolf howl. Then he galloped away a few yards, trotting back, howled once more, and again galloped towards the lake. All of this only convinced the crowd that they were still threatened by a mad dog. A shower of stones fell upon Wolf as he came back a third time to influence these dull people into following him. Wolf's thinking, "Come on, people, get a grip, come help me." One pointed rock smote the collie's shoulder, glancing, cutting it to the bone. Poor Wolf. A shot from the policeman's revolver fanned his fur as it whizzed past. Knowing that he faced death, he stood his ground, not troubling to dodge the stones, but continuing to run lakeward and then trot back, whining with excitement. A second pistol shot flew wide. A third grazed the dog's hip. From all directions, people were running toward the station. A man darted into a house next door and came out carrying a shotgun. Just then, the train from New York came in, and the sport of mad dog killing was delayed while the crowd scattered to each side of the tracks. From the front car of the train, the mistress and the master stepped out of the noise and confusion. "Better hide in the station, ma'am," shouted the telegraph operator at the sight of the mistress. "There's a mad dog loose out there. He's chasing folks around and—" "Mad dogs," repeated the mistress. "If you knew anything about dogs, you'd know mad ones never chase folks around any more than typhoid patients do." Then a flash of tawny light beneath the station's lamp, a scurrying of frightened idlers, a final wasted shot from the policeman's pistol, as Wolf dived headlong through the frightened crowd toward the voice he heard and recognized. It was his master and mistress that got off of the train. Up to the mistress and the master galloped Wolf. He was bleeding. His eyes were bloodshot. His fur was rumpled. He seized the master's gloved hand lightly between his teeth and sought to pull him across the tracks toward the lake. The master knew dogs, especially he knew Wolf, and without a word he suffered himself to be led. The mistress and 1 or 2 men followed. Presently, Wolf loosened his hold on the master's hand and ran on ahead, darting back every few minutes to make certain that he was being followed. Heroism consists in hanging on 1 minute longer. The boy was whispering to himself for the 100th time as Wolf pattered up to him in triumph across the ice with the human rescuers a scant 10 yards behind. So the boy was saved because of Wolf. Such a good story. I love this story. Let's go over these questions together. You don't have to write them down. Number 1, in what ways was Wolf more like a wolf than a dog? The book tells us he looked like a wolf. He snarled rather than barked. He did not like humans other than his master and mistress and the boy. Number 2, describe the walk to the marshes. I'm hoping that Jacob is saying that it was cold. The boy and the dog walked on the lake, which was thawed on top and now covered in thin ice. Jacob, you have any more to add to that? Wolf's feet were cut and bleeding because the ice was chipped. Good job, Jacob. Let's go on down to number 4. Why couldn't the boy climb out since the water was only 3 feet deep? Anybody remember that one? Let's see. Lucas, do you remember that one? There was an air hole concealed beneath the ice. Oh, wait, I skipped one. Like always, I'm just being normal like I am the classroom. Number 3, what caused the boy to fall? The air hole caused the boys to fall. Number 4, why couldn't he climb out? Because his feet, remember, were embedded in the mud. I'm sorry, I messed that up. His feet were embedded in the mud, and also he had lost his strength. He was just so weak and unable to. Number 5, explain in your own words the meaning of the proverb. Heroism consists in hanging on 1 minute longer. That's a hard one to explain in your own words since you're not here. In my opinion, heroism would be trying harder, going the extra mile. When you want to give up, just do it one more time. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I know you guys would have such better answers to that because you're much more creative than me. Number 6, there are 2 heroes in the story. How did they prove to be heroes? Well, Wolf certainly was a hero because he continued to try to help even when people threw rocks at him. And I guess we could say that the boy is also a hero because he fought to struggle, to stay alive, to stay alert. Even though things seemed very hopeless, he kept hanging on. So, good story. I like that story. Tomorrow's reading is that you draw me a picture of one of the scenes in the story. And yes, you do have to turn it into your folder. So we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Of course, I will love color on it. I will love that it's creative. And I will love even more if you put your name on it. So, we'll go over that one more time tomorrow. And we are moving on to history, which is our last class of the day today. And let me prepare for that. So give me a minute for that. Today on your syllabus in history, it tells you to read pages 240 to 243, and you're going to do on your own reading in that today. This is talk about continuing world problems that continued on even after the war ended. So I'm going to have you read 240 to 243 on your own. And I will be going over highlights with you on that tomorrow. So definitely listen for those highlights. And you have a worksheet to do that covers worksheet 55 that covers sections 13.3 to 13.4. So that's the only 2 sections that you will need to look for these answers in. Take the time to look these answers up in your book so you can do your best and get the best grade as possible. It looks like you will definitely be using all of the answers on the first one because there's 4 questions and 4 answers. There goes my glasses on the floor, just what I don't need to happen. Let's look at that real quick. Yes, you will use all of the answers on part 1 matching. Short answer on part 2. We definitely talked about 5 and 6 yesterday. Today you should read about 7 and 8 in your reading today. And we talked about Talked about all of 9 through 12 yesterday as well, I believe. So this worksheet shouldn't be too difficult for you. Have a great afternoon this afternoon. Please join us for church tonight, FAC. I love to see when you post pictures of when you're watching in church. I think it's so cool that Daniel wears a suit to church services. He just looks so handsome, and it just makes me miss him more. It definitely is Daniel that he wears his suit, because we all know Daniel. He likes to look spiffy. I love his brown shoes that he wears sometimes with his suits. They look so sharp. So make sure you're watching church. And tonight we are getting fed some of the most amazing sermons I have heard in my life during this quarantine time. If it is doing anything, it should be building us up spiritually, because it is just amazing. So thankful for the hard work of our pastors and our administration at this time, and our tech team. Where would we be without our tech team? I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. But I'm going to let you go. I'm going to quit talking. And I wish I was talking to all of you. Thank you for those that have been texting me today. I heard from Brianna today. Brianna, actually, that was yesterday. Brianna was trying to work, and her cat kept getting up in her work, and her cat was snoring. She sent me a video of her snoring cat. So it's beautiful cat. Oh my goodness, he's gorgeous. I guess I should say he is handsome. But anyways, have a great day, everybody. I will see you on Thursday.